This is the Impulsive Thinker Podcast, a show for high-achieving ADHD entrepreneurs. Together, we will inform and educate you about how to improve your self-awareness while developing systems, routines, and habits for conquering the entrepreneurial world. Here is your host, Zélia Brisson.
Hey there, it's Andre the Impulsive Thinker.
And I'm Zélia Brisson, the guest host today, joined by Andre Brisson, my host guest. Today, I'm going to be asking him about his parenting skills and what they were like before being diagnosed with ADHD and after being diagnosed with ADHD. So I'm just going to start off.
Well, just before we get going, that you are my daughter.
Yes, that was...
And you've heard her before a few times on this episode where we actually talked about living while undiagnosed, me as a father as undiagnosed, and then recently about your executive functioning challenges from going from grade school to high school.
Yippers.
Yippers.
Okay, I'm just going to start very basic. How do you feel you were as a parent like before being diagnosed versus now while being diagnosed?
Well, first of all, I do think I was still a good parent, a good father before and after. But the one thing I did realize was I was a lot harder on you two. And it wasn't, it was more along it had nothing to do with the ADHD symptoms. Okay, for a while, it was very crappy times because when my undiagnosed symptoms took over, I was not pleasant to be around. The emotional dysregulation was out of control. It didn't take much, and it was just, overwhelmed, freaking out. It was not a pleasant time. And not just for you guys, for me too, because I knew it was not fun. But I couldn't control. I had mental health issues too. So it just wasn't fun on my part. But the one thing I realized is once I learned about ADHD and all that, you at a young age, I remember this for a while, you at a young age, you were showing ADHD symptoms. But it was in the sense that you reminded me of me when I was that age. And I remember doing the things you were doing at a young age, how much trouble I was getting, and it was making my parents look bad because that's what I was told. So I was trying to protect you by being extra hard. I was actually trying to beat your impulsivity. So I was trying to get you before you did something impulsive. And this is knowing what I know now, not at the time, but that's what I was doing. I was trying to beat your impulsivity so you didn't get in the habit, because at that time I thought it was just bad habit, not the way our brain worked. And that made me a lot harder on you guys because I was always on top of you. I was constantly criticizing, or was interpreted as criticizing and hard and negative. But in my mind, I was actually trying to help you not go through the shit that I went through as a kid. So if I can help you not get into those bad behaviors, which is ADHD, what we know now is ADHD, that's where I find I was harder on you guys for that purpose, because I was trying to protect you guys from what I went through.
Mm-hmm. And you didn't know how to do it in a way where it didn't seem like you were criticizing us or being like super hard, because you didn't know you were doing that till maybe like after you said it or something.
No, I didn't understand that until I was diagnosed with ADHD. I thought I was helping you guys by being hard. What was perceived as hard and critical. Mm-hmm. But in my mind, I wasn't hard and critical. I was trying to help you from doing behaviors that would get you in trouble with other people.
So you didn't really realize it like at all at the time?
No, I thought I was doing you a favor. I was protecting you.
Oh, gotcha.
Right?
Yeah.
Protecting you for future. Mm-hmm. So when I got diagnosed and realizing that, because actually when we were at a family reunion up north, and I remember one of my aunts coming up to me and said, you know that kid right there that's bouncing around, having a good time and making everyone laugh and smile? That was you, full of energy. She looked at me and says, that's you. And that freaked me out. At this time I was undiagnosed. That freaked me out because I took it as you're an annoying kid. Well, that's the story I was told. That's not what she was telling me. What I realize now, she was saying something different, but I took it as that's an annoying kid. That's just like you. And all my bad memories came back of that behavior, which was not acceptable by other people, made me look bad. and I had to protect you more. I've had more of a feeling I had to protect you more, to not go through what I did, because I was told it's just my hyperactivity. I was a fun person to be around, and I like, you like attention. You're like, we can be the center of a party, make sure everyone has a good time. And that freaked me out. And that's where I started to realize, once I got diagnosed, that I still see that vividly when she told me, and looking back, I was trying to protect you guys, but in actual fact, it's your ADHD, your impulsivity, even your sister's inattentiveness. She's inattentive. My God, does she forget stuff? And it's not because she does it on purpose. She just does. And now that we know it's ADHD, we can't fault you guys for that anymore. It is what it is. We're still responsible for the outcome of our impulsive behaviors in that. But instead of criticizing you, stop saying, think more. Well, mostly you can't. It's just, how can we prevent this next time? And start looking at it and being accountable for what you're doing. And it's not a moral, it's not that you suck and you're a bad person. It's just your brain's different. How can we do it? Because that behavior is not acceptable.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so speaking of kids and stuff, and being maybe, so I was kind of thinking, maybe back then, if we were feeling a certain way because of something that you said or something that just happened, maybe you didn't understand how we were feeling at the time. Mm-hmm. And then now that you're diagnosed with ADHD and me and Sophie are, do you feel like you understand us more in the way that we feel? More than maybe mom does, because she doesn't really understand?
I know what you're going through. Yeah, for sure. And just having that clarity that it's a brain thing, and we got a better connection, I found. Especially when in the last episode we did, or either it's the last one or the one that's coming up soon, we talked about the impulsivity story, right? Mm-hmm. You couldn't explain to mom, or you couldn't explain it to words exactly, impulsivity, because you were very young, because you didn't have the right words or the understanding or to process it. And it's in the scenario I gave you, is so in your mind, it'd be funny if you put your finger up that person's nose and then bang, your finger's up the nose. And then you just went, exactly, no time to thinking, it's just there, right? That's impulsivity. And it's nothing to do with mom. It's not her fault. Mom's never going to understand that. A non-ADHD person will never understand that. There's no way we can explain that to a non-ADHD person that they can understand. If I got a broken arm, we can explain the hurt. Even if you're depressed or anxious, everyone can have some sort of understanding, but ADHD is very tough. So yes, it's a lot easier. And I'm actually starting to see the struggles that you're having is understanding where it's coming from, like your sister, go upstairs, brush your teeth, do this, do that. And then all of a sudden she goes upstairs and she doesn't do anything, because she gets up, she forgets, she plays, she does something else. And then we realize for her, I think her executive functioning skills are very, very low, and that she can only remember one thing. Mm-hmm. So we say, go do the one thing, come down. Now we got a new strategy. Come down when you're done it. More stuff's getting done. I'm not saying she does it perfectly every time, but there's more success with that. Mm-hmm. By instead of rhyming off 3 or 4 things, we can rhyme off 2 or 3 things and you'll do them. Rhyme off 4 or 5, the first 2 will get forgotten. Just your brain doesn't take it. Sophie, I think, is 1 or 2. Or sorry, my youngest is 1 or 2. Mm-hmm. So having that understanding has changed the way I do things. Yet behavior and disrespect is still important. And ADHD is not an excuse to not do the other stuff. So there's a difference, and I'm hoping I'm communicating that the behaviors is what actually is the issue, not the reason for it, or not even saying that the behavior is what's actually under challenge, not that the fact you can't remember or you got distracted.
Yeah.
It's a difference, disrespect, talking back, all that kind of stuff, especially impulsivity. As much as some people out there are saying, you can't fault the kids and they're impulsive, they'll never be able to control their mouth. You know what? I've learned. You know me. My mouth can go. But yet I can't control myself, because I've learned over time, and I put systems in place. And now that I know it's my brain that doesn't have a filter, well, having that awareness, I don't have a filter, I'm actually catching myself more. It's not my brain, it's my cognitive side of my mind that's helping me prevent me to do it. Now, it's not well. If I get bored, I get annoyed, I'm around a lot of people that talk about stuff that, wants to disrespect a bunch of people, my mouth will go. Mm-hmm. But I'm still responsible for the outcome because I said it. Yeah. Right?
Okay. I'm going to carry on, or not carry on, but continue with about your children. Do you find that with relationships with people, obviously I'm focusing more on kids, but also with mom or maybe your friends, if you get more attached to them, do you worry more about them, about the things maybe they're going through and you really want to help them?
That's me. That's an Andre thing. Doesn't matter about my ADHD or my strengths. That's the person I am. I've always cared and wanted to understand why people behave the way they do and why they do things. Not in a way that it's a fault or you're to find out what you're wrong. It's just we got your Colby done at a very young age. You just did your print now, and at 14, you got a kid's version of your Strengths Finder. You at a very young age understand how you work and how you should work. And that stuff makes it more important to me to understand that in people. It's not just because you're my daughter, it's everyone on my team engineering, other people. Why do they do things and how can I help them use their skill sets to succeed? So that's a me thing. Okay. But having more understanding of the ADHD and what you're going through, that helps, that improves it. But other than that, it's not an ADHD thing that I care about other people and what they're doing. It's just, that's a me thing. That's a personal interest and a personal drive, while some other people are not as interested.
Okay, so then how do you think maybe undiagnosed ADHD would affect someone who has ADHD but doesn't know, and maybe how that would affect their relationships with people? Because you didn't know you had it, and maybe it did something.
Yeah, and then for me, my intensity was another thing. I'm a very intense person. If I get excited, if I really want to get something done, I get intense and I push people very, very hard. Yeah. So undiagnosed, that was really hard. Very intense, in your face, let's go, go, go. And if you don't want to be with me, I tell you to F off. Mm-hmm. Go hit the dirt. I was a little more black and white and direct. You don't want to help? Then leave. Screw off. And I wasn't saying screw off in the point I don't ever want to see you again or I think you're useless. It's just, if you don't want to help, screw off. I'm going to go do it. Yeah. But that's misunderstood. So now being diagnosed, I understand that and I communicate that to people. Actually, what you're doing right now is triggering me. Or my brain will not what you're doing right now. It's just, it's some people are going to say, in the morning, you're grumpy. I said, I'm not grumpy in the morning. I'm a morning person, believe it or not. But the thing is, when you come in, and then finally one guy says, well, you never say hi when we say hi. I said, well, I don't say hi. But before it was, oh, you're just being sensitive, right? Get over it. But now what I know is now that I'm diagnosed, I know why I don't say hi anymore. Because if I don't say hi when you walk in and you say it, it's because I'm focused. I am doing something. And if I stop and say, hey, man, how are you this morning? Now we got to do small talk. How the cats, how the birds, all that stuff. But then I got to go back to my task. And it's going to take me another half hour to get back into it. So I'm not saying hi because most likely I didn't hear you because I'm hyper-focusing, right? You've been in hyper-focus where you can't hear anything. We have to call you 5, 6, 7, 8 times, even from the same room to wake you up. Not to wake you up, but to break you from your hyper-focus. Or I know you want to talk to me, but I really want this done. I don't want to go back to take another 30 minutes to get into it. Because that's the thing with the ADHD brain. It's hard. It takes us a little time to get into something. And once we get into it, to break the cycle of stuff. So that's why I tell them, I don't want to break my focus. That's why I'm not saying hi. Mm-hmm. So now that they understood, okay, now he's not grumpy all the time. He's in focus. He doesn't want to be interrupted. Mm-hmm. So now we know how to communicate that better, rather than, because everyone's going to guess and make an assumption of what they do. And since we can't vocalize, since then we got language as ADHD, we can now communicate that. Well, before it was, I just don't want to talk to you. I just don't want to interrupt my work.
Mm-hmm. So do you think it's easier for people to understand you as well and for you to understand yourself?
Oh, huge for me. definitely. I understand why when I get easily distracted, I can figure out why I'm bored or it's a task I really don't want to do. So now I know if I got a bunch of tasks that I know I hate, I got to get into a certain mode. I listen to a certain app so I can take out all the outside noise. It's scientifically proven music to just help me focus. I close my door. I get in the way so I can reduce the distractions, or, emails off, phones put away. So I don't have these easy to see. Like my office is very bare. So there's less distraction, a reason for me to not do something. Mm-hmm. And then with other people, it's helped to communicate. And the people that want to care and want to understand, it helps. The people who don't believe or don't care about you never will. And I don't waste my time with people like that anymore. Mm-hmm. So like I tell you can't tell a Heinz pickle F all. So what's the point of wasting all your energy, try to convince someone who will never be convinced, and just spend your energy on the right people and on yourself.
Okay. I'm trying to think of another pretty good question to ask you. Well, so me and Sophie we both have ADHD, but we're
two different types.
Yeah, very different types.
You're a hyperactive female, which is it's just rare. Impulsivity. Right? And then Sophie's definitely inattentive.
Mm-hmm. So how do you think it would be different if we were both the same, if it would be harder or easier? Because it took a while for you to, first of all, understand yourself and how your brain works. And then you also had to figure out me and what was going on with me. And then you also had to spend time thinking about how Sophie thinks about things and that kind of stuff.
Well, the thing is, you're very lucky you have me as a papa.
Very lucky.
No, lucky in the sense that I've always looked at you two as two different people with two unique skills from birth.
Yes.
So I don't believe everyone is the same and they all could be raised the same and do the same thing. So I see very early stages how you do things, how you don't do things, how Sophie was different, even with mom. So I've always had an interest how people do things differently. So now for me, it's even better because it's a new challenge, gets my brain going. Your unique ADHD and Sophie's unique ADHD with the other skill sets that we've identified and I've observed over the years. And that's what I really like helping with people is I figure out people's unique ADHD and their unique skills, and for them to come up with the solution that suits their needs, not a generic hope most of it works. Mm-hmm. So yes, it's now that we got the aspects of the ADHD, it twists it a bit, but what it gives me more understanding why things are done the way they are. Mm-hmm. Right. You are a 7 follow-through. You are very systematized and organized. You need lists. If you don't have them, if you don't have a proper course, you will not start or you delay. Okay, I'm a 2 follow through. I don't care. I'm just going to try. If I can't go that way, I'll go another way, and I can switch things very easily. Sophie's the same, right? So my fact finder actually my 2 follow through actually supports my impulsivity. I have my ADHD. Actually, it amplifies it, so it makes it worse and more distractibility. Your 7 follow through actually helps your impulsivity and create structure for you. So at times when your impulsivity and inattentiveness pulls you from what you were planning, you kind of get a little bit stressed, but in the way it also supports you. And Sophie is the same way. Like me, I don't think she's as impulsive as we are. But her with her inattentiveness, her resistant follow through actually is supported with her attentiveness because she can do that. She can do this. Oh, there's something new there. I can go there because cognitively, we're okay with changing directions and paths all the time. Mm-hmm. So that's where it comes. The strategies that we have for you would be completely different from Sophie because of our Colbys.
You said you were talking about how you let us, me and Sophie be our own people, do our own things right from birth. So you let us have our own interests and you support those interests and you do the best you can to make whatever we want to do, be something we can do. So do you think, I'm trying to think of what I was trying to say. Do you think that's part of ADHD or being sorry, I was trying to talk about being independent. I was leading to that. Like, with ADHD, is it easier to be more independent, or is it like harder?
It depends on the person, and depends on the ADHD, but also like I've always relied on myself to do my own thing. I didn't have a lot of supports as a kid, so if I want to do something, I did it. I figured out my own way of doing it. So I'm a very independent person. Now, not everyone is an independent. Like, they rely on people more and more than some more. Like for me, I'm okay. That's part of my problem. I should ask for more help and accept more help, but I have a need. Like, it's part of my print. I need to be strong, self-reliant. So it's a motivation of mine to be self-reliant. For some, like with your print, you're 6'3", and your need to be self-reliant is not as high as mine. So, but I'm trying to teach you guys to be self-reliant and independent. Like, I joke, 18 years old, you guys are out, you're on your own, you're not begging me for money. I'm like, you're on your own. And I mean that because right now, the way we're raising you is we're teaching you money skills, we're teaching you life skills. So when you do leave, you don't have to be dependent on everyone. It's not to say that you don't need anyone, is that you can still do stuff by yourself. And that's an important part for me. While mom, she doesn't want you guys, her take is not, her push to teach you guys is not to be self-dependent as much as I am. But she wants, she does a different way because it suits her style. Yeah. I don't know if that made sense.
Mm-hmm. So I guess since you don't have that much time left, is there like what was the biggest difference in do you think your parenting style like changed, or was like the biggest difference from maybe like 8 or 9 years ago to like these last 3 years now?
The biggest change was I was no longer trying to protect you from beating your ADHD. Mm-hmm. Those behaviors, there's nothing wrong with those behaviors when I was a kid. There's nothing wrong with your behaviors when you're a kid. It's just the way you are and the unique person. And so now it's like, okay, you're going to be impulsive as long as we're not crossing lines. What's the issue, right? When we call you down for dinner, we call you once, Zélia, dinner. What do? We go back 2-3 minutes later and say, Zélia, dinner. And then we get a reply. So the first one is to wake you up. Sorry, wrong term. It breaks your focus, whatever you're focusing. You didn't hear the first one. Then we go back because now someone said something and I broke my focus. Now you hear us the second time. Now you come. Sophie, we have to do 3 times. Right? So those are a little bit of tricks. So instead of saying, hey, you heard me, come down, you're in trouble because you didn't listen to me the first time. Well, the first time you didn't. That's the brain. We broke you from your focus, your hyper focus. Then the second time you come down. So those are the types of different things that we're doing. But I just remember I was always trying to beat your impulsivity because it just seemed to be a connection. I just knew what you were going to do next. And I was trying to beat you to get you to learn to stop and think. Yeah. But dude, we can't. We don't have that stop and think. Mm-hmm. But having awareness of the ADHD and what it can get us in trouble, and being aware of when we can get those situations. Like I think me and you, like if we're bored, wow, watch out for everyone.
Yeah, right? Get really annoying and start aggravating people.
So don't tell me to go sit on a couch for 5 hours listening to a bunch of people talk about crap. I'm going to get bored, and my mouth's going to start shooting. Mm-hmm. Or let me leave, or go walk around, or sometimes I'll go play with kids. Why? Because the adult conversation is boring, and I should not be rude when I'm hearing stupid things. So I will go say I'm going to the bathroom and then end up hanging out with the kids, and I have more fun.
Yeah.
Right. So that, to me, that was the big thing. Now that we know it's ADHD on me, it's ADHD with you guys, it's just, I'm a lot less hard for those behavioral type things that were misunderstood and that was implanted on me because no one understood what was going on with my brain. And now I'm concentrating on the behaviors of interaction and respect and do what you say you're going to do.
Yeah, I think that's all the questions I can think of for right now.
So, I think this is a really good conversation because I don't know how many parents are out there with ADHD or with kids with ADHD. The one thing that I do recall remembering is I was trying to beat my kids' ADHD, try to get ahead of their impulsivity, to get them to realize that they're going to do, get ahead of the ADHD, which is impossible, but having that understanding and comprehension. And I want to thank Zélia here for being, it's very courageous to come here. This is the third time coming on to talk about this. And from the questions that came from a kid's perspective, her experience as a kid, like she's only 14 right now, so it's still fresh and her memory has not been clouded by being 18, 19 and life getting in the way. So thank you, Zélia, for being open and honest. And this was your idea, not mine.
Yep.
And I love the courageous. And like we said, open and honest. We support you in what you want to do. And right now we're going to invest in your future as a marine biologist / ecologist / shark researcher and doing some scuba diving. Is she going to do that when she gets older? Don't know. Looks like that's what she's going to do. But I'm going to try and support my kids to do what they think they want to do. As long as there's you've been talking like this since you were 4 and 6 years old. So there's a bit of seriousness here. So support your kids on what they want to do. It's what they want to do in life, not what I want them to do in life. So I'm going to end on that note. So thanks for listening. And Zélia, thanks again for coming on.
Thank you for coming on and answering my questions.
And to you listeners, thanks again, and we'll talk soon.
Toodles.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Impulsive Thinker podcast. If you enjoyed it, subscribe, rate, and review the show. It helps us get discovered by listeners like you. If you can share it with at least 2 other people, that would be greatly appreciated. I want to gift you the Shit List. It's a weekly planning tool that I developed to plan my week and focus my time. You can find it at our website at tacticalbts.com. That is tacticalbts.com. Talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to the Impulsive Thinker podcast. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion for the show, please visit theimpulsivethinker.com. The Impulsive Thinker podcast is produced by Tactical Breakthroughs and hosted by Zélia Brisson. Remember, ADHD is only a part of you, not all of you.